Welcome to Barbara's Bulletin, the podcast where we dive into the latest news and current events from around the world. I'm your host, Barbara, and I'm glad you're joining me today. We have a lot to cover, but let's start with a story that's been making headlines in recent days. The conflict between Israel and Palestine has once again flared up, with both sides trading accusations and engaging in violent clashes. In a recent radio interview, Israeli politician Yair Golan sparked controversy by saying that a sane country does not kill babies for a hobby. This statement was met with swift condemnation from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who accused Golan of wild incitement against Israeli troops. Golan, the chairman of Israel's Democrats Party, has been a vocal critic of Netanyahu's government and its policies. He argues that Israel is on a path to becoming a pariah state if it doesn't change its behavior, particularly with regards to its treatment of civilians in Gaza. However, his comments have been widely criticized by both government officials and opposition leaders, who see them as an attack on the Israeli military and its soldiers. It's a complex and sensitive issue, and one that requires careful consideration and nuance. On one hand, there are legitimate concerns about the impact of Israel's actions on civilians in Gaza and the need for a more balanced approach to resolving the conflict. On the other hand, there are also concerns about the security threats faced by Israel and the need for its military to defend itself against terrorist organizations. As we try to make sense of this situation, it's essential to listen to different perspectives and to approach the issue with empathy and understanding. We'll be exploring this topic in more depth in future episodes, but for now, let's take a look at some other news from around the world. In related news, the New York Times has been reporting on the impact of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict on the city's Jewish community. The paper notes that the conflict has become a highly polarizing issue, with some Jewish leaders accusing others of being too soft on Israel's critics. It's a reminder that the effects of this conflict are far-reaching, and that they can be felt in communities around the world. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. We're halfway through our program today, and I'm excited to dive into a significant development in the world of trade and politics. As you may have heard, the UK and EU have announced a new trade deal, which aims to simplify trade between Great Britain and Northern Ireland. This agreement has been met with mixed reactions from businesses and politicians across the region. To give you a better understanding of the situation, let's take a closer look at two stories that caught my attention. First, we have a report from the Guardian World, which highlights the reaction of Northern Irish firms to the UK-EU deal. According to the article, some companies in the region have given a muted welcome to the agreement, stating that they've already adapted their supply chains and no longer rely on British suppliers. For example, Peter Bradley, a director of the Mid-Ulster Garden Centre, said, "We've got into a nice pattern and rhythm post-Brexit, and British suppliers have almost become unnecessary." This sentiment is echoed by other businesses in the region, which have found alternative sources for their goods and services. On the other hand, we also have a story about a UK-based cheese manufacturer who has welcomed the deal as a positive step forward. The company's owner expressed relief that the new agreement would reduce trade barriers and make it easier to export their products to the EU. It's clear that opinions on the deal are divided, and its impact will depend on various factors, including the specific industry and business model. As Suzanne Wiley, the head of the Northern Ireland Chamber of Commerce and Industry, noted, local businesses will take time to analyze the detail as and when it emerges. As we continue to follow this story, it's essential to consider multiple perspectives and avoid jumping to conclusions. The UK-EU trade deal is a complex issue with far-reaching implications, and we'll be keeping a close eye on its developments in the coming weeks and months. Stay tuned for our final story of the day, right here on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. I'm your host, Barbara. As we wrap up today's show, we're going to take a closer look at a developing story that has significant implications for global politics and the lives of millions of people. The European Union is considering lifting economic sanctions on Syria, a move that could have far-reaching consequences for the war-torn country. As we've been following this story, it's clear that the situation in Syria is complex and multifaceted. The country has been devastated by years of civil war, and the humanitarian crisis continues to unfold. The drought that has struck Syria has only added to the challenges faced by its people, with wheat crops failing and food security under threat. The potential lifting of sanctions by the EU comes on the heels of a similar announcement by U.S. President Donald Trump, who said he would order the lifting of all sanctions on Syria. This move has been met with both optimism and skepticism, as some argue that it could provide much-needed relief to the Syrian people, while others worry about the potential consequences for human rights and regional stability. As we delve into this story, it's essential to consider multiple perspectives. On one hand, the lifting of sanctions could provide a vital boost to Syria's agricultural sector, which has been crippled by the war and the drought. Farmers like Assad Ezeldin, who have seen their crops fail due to the lack of irrigation, may finally get the support they need to revive their livelihood. On the other hand, there are concerns that the lifting of sanctions could embolden the Syrian government, which has been accused of human rights abuses. The EU's foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas, has warned that Europe needs to be careful not to create a situation like Afghanistan, where instability and extremism can thrive. As we navigate this complex issue, it's crucial to remember that the lives of millions of people are at stake. The Syrian people deserve our compassion, understanding, and support. It's essential to approach this story with empathy and nuance, recognizing that there are no easy answers or quick fixes. As we conclude today's Barbara's Bulletin, I want to leave you with a thought-provoking question. What role should the international community play in supporting the Syrian people, while also ensuring that human rights and regional stability are protected? This is a conversation that will continue to unfold in the days and weeks ahead, and we'll be sure to keep you updated on any developments. That's all for today's Barbara's Bulletin. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, stay engaged.